About a year ago today, Blackmagic announced one of their most anticipated cameras yet, and with that came yet another new recording media. This is a CFAST 2.0 card, the recording media used for the URSA Mini 4K and 4.6K cameras, as well as the C300 Mark II. These cards are relatively small and in so very easy to store and carry with you. They're only 0.3 ounces. In that small size, they have a 510 megabit read and write speed. They are very fast, no doubt. With that small size, however, comes small storage options. You cannot get these cards over 512 gigs at the moment. This particular card has 128 gigabytes of storage. Sounds like a lot, but that's only good for about 30 minutes of 422 UHD, 9 minutes of 4K RAW, or less than 5 minutes for 4.6K. Then the card's done. You have to change. No big deal, right? Wrong, and that's why I'm going to show you guys how to record media to your URSA Mini or C300 Mark II for a much lower price without adding that much bulk to your rig. There is a single cloud in the sky right now, and it just took away all my light. That's another problem with this camera, by the way, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video. I'll save it for the review. So give me like a second, I'll cut to it when I get more light. There we go. That's a little bit better. So as I was saying, these cards are very expensive. There's no way around that, and for that high price, you're really not getting that much storage space. This 128 gig card costs over $300. The 512 card, I believe, goes for around $550 to $600. Don't quote me on that, but that was about how much it was when I checked. So for potentially hundreds or even thousands of dollars, you're not getting that much recording space. And if you're on set or out in the field even, once that space is out, you're done. And with 128 gigs, if you want that high quality 4K that I'm sure you bought this camera for, you've got 8 minutes out in the field. So that sucks. So unless you're working for, say, a studio that can provide you a bunch of these cards, you're gonna have to be paying for this yourself. And eventually, once you're spending more money on media than your entire rig is worth, you're gonna get pretty bored of that pretty quick. I know I did, and I know a lot of other people do. It's a problem that people complain about all the time. So here is a very cheap and very reliable way to fix that problem. First, you'll need an SSD, preferably SanDisk because they're reliable, number one, and number two, you want to ensure that you retain that 510 read and write speed. Next, you'll need a CFAST Breakout cable. When you get the cable, there will be a power and data portion to it. CFAST can only output 3 volts of electricity, and you need 5 volts to power an SSD. See that right there? I can focus that for you guys. See where there used to be a cable right there? Yeah, cut it. You don't need the extra part of this cable, so be careful while you're doing it, but you can use a razor blade or a pair of scissors, anything to cut it. Just leave the blue intact, please. So cut the cable. The blue portion is data, so please leave that intact or else this is all for nothing. In order to power the SSD, you'll need a different cable. This is a USB to SATA cable. That's important because the SATA connection connects to the other portion of the SSD, and the USB can output to the 5 volts you'll need to power it. You can plug in the USB to the USB port on your V-Lock battery, or if you don't have one, or if you're like me and don't want to draw power from the camera, you can use an external battery. Unfortunately, you will have to import this cable, but there is currently no other way to get it. So for these 3 things, the SSD, the CFAST Breakout cable, and the power cable, and might as well throw this in as well, an external battery. And this, including shipping, is about $150. So for about half the price of a single 128 gigabyte CFAST 2.0 card, you can get 260 gigabytes for half the cost. And SSDs are very cheap. If you wanted to, which I'm going to here soon, you can get a terabyte SSD for $175, $200, something like that. Depends on the deal, honestly, for Amazon. That changes all the time. So for $200, you could have 3 times the storage, 4 times the storage of a lowly 128 gigabyte card. And for studio work, this is perfect. In studio, you can kind of build up your rig and you don't have to worry too much about size. Not that this adds much to the rig, but if that's a big concern for you, this does not take up much space on your rig at all. This is ounces. It's not even with an external battery. It's not much at all. You can mount it to the back of your V-mount like I do, or you could mount it wherever you want to, honestly. And there's other options out there for expanding the memory of your URSA without using CFAST 2.0 cards. There's the C-Box, which debuted at NAB last year, or this year, and there's a couple other third-party options out there, but they're big. They're big, clunky old things that you have to mount to the top of the rig, and they add, not much, but substantial enough weight to your camera. And if you're like me and you do a lot of handheld work, you don't want that. And the C-Box is $700, so you might as well buy another CFAST 2.0 card, or a couple of them. This is very small, very lightweight, and it's dirt cheap. The only downside to this is that yes, you do have exposed cables on your camera. If you're out in a studio, this isn't too much of a big deal, but if you're out in the field, you're going to want to protect these cables, and the drive itself, it is exposed. You can buy, which I might end up doing this, you can buy a case that you can stick your SSD into to protect it if you're out in the field, which is a good idea, but for the very bare bones expanding your memory tutorial, which this video is about, this is it. And maybe an external battery, but like I said, you can plug this into the V-mount that is on the back of your camera and it works the exact same. I just want all the power from that to go to the camera. I don't want to draw more power away from the camera that I could be using for an extra shot that I may not have been able to get. So I use this, and you can get even smaller ones. Look how tiny this is, and this will still power an SSD for an entire day or more. It's just I want 2 USB cables in case I need to charge something else. There have been some reports, people out there saying that these do not all fit into the SSD properly. What I mean by this is there's some people out there that have said that these are a little bit too wide. The 2 separate cables put together are too wide to fit into the port of the SSD. So I did not have this problem. They fit together perfectly for me. But in case you do have this problem, you can razor blade the ends of each cable down so they do fit together. People have done this out there already. You can I don't know if you can really make that out, but there are little plastic bumps on each of them, and you can razor blade those off without worrying about compromising the data that's traveling through them, and they'll fit together. Again, I did not have this problem, but just in case you have this problem, you're not doing anything wrong. It just happens, I guess, with some people, as some people have told me. So you can razor blade those down, and it's not going to be a problem. A lot of people don't care about things like this, but a cool thing is you can actually use this setup with just a regular CFAST 2.0 card reader. I know card readers are very cheap, but if you're on the go and traveling and don't want to pack anything extra, you can still only pack 1 card reader for your CFAST 2.0 cards and this setup. And as long as you've got the battery, it will transfer at the same speed and make your life easier. So that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I know there are some tutorials on this out there already, but I wanted to give you some more, just a little bit more in-depth process on how this is done. If you would like more camera tips and tricks about the URSA Mini, I would love to make more videos about it, so please let me know if you would like that. And I'm also working on a review for this camera. Again, I know there's already reviews out there, but I'm a very in-depth person, and I want to cover as much about this camera as humanly possible. It was originally going to be a written review, but if you guys would like me to take on the endeavor of turning it into a, granted, very long video, but substantial in substance, let me know, and I will consider that. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.